The sharp smack of the open palm against flesh cut through the chatter outside Miller's diner like a gunshot. 81-year-old Eleanor Thompson staggered back, clutching her cheek, her eyes wide with shock and pain as the burly man loomed over her. "You filthy old dykes, go back to where you came from," he snarled while Helen, her partner of 12 years, reached out to steady her. Before the crowd could fully react, a sleek black SUV pulled up with tires screeching and out stepped Christina, her tailored suit crisp, her face a mask of controlled fury. 1 hour. It had only been 1 hour since the call reached her office at City Hall. Now here she was, the mayor of Riverton, Illinois, standing in the middle of this nightmare. "What the hell is going on here?" she demanded, her voice carrying the authority of her position as she positioned herself between her grandmother and the assailant. The man sneered, recognizing her. "Well, if it isn't the big shot mayor. Your grandma here was putting on quite the show, hugging and kissing this woman in public like it's nothing. Disgusting." Christina's blood boiled, but she kept her composure, knowing the eyes of onlookers, and now emerging phones were on her. Eleanor, 81 years young, had always been the rock of the family, the one who raised her after her mother Laura had been too busy with her own demons. And Helen had been by Eleanor's side for years, though the family had turned a blind eye to the nature of their bond, assuming it was just close friendship. But this public display and the violent reaction had ripped the veil away. Emily, her own secret love and policy advisor, would be waiting back at the office, worried sick. Christina pushed the thought aside, focusing on the immediate crisis. "Officer," she called to the arriving police, who had been summoned by bystanders. "This man assaulted my grandmother. I want him arrested." The officer hesitated, glancing between the mayor and the man, who was a local business owner known for his conservative views. This is going to be a mess, Christina thought, her mind racing through the potential political fallout. As the police began to question witnesses, Christina helped Eleanor and Helen into the SUV, her hands trembling slightly. "Are you okay, Grandma?" she asked softly once they were inside the vehicle, pulling away from the scene. Eleanor nodded slowly, her cheek already bruising. "I was just happy to see Helen after her doctor's appointment. We've hidden it for so long, but at our age, what's the point anymore?" Helen squeezed her hand, tears in her eyes. "The world has changed, but not enough, apparently." Christina drove them to the family home, her thoughts a whirlwind. As mayor, she had been pushing for an ordinance to strengthen protections for the LGBTQ community in Riverton, a city still grappling with its conservative roots in central Illinois. This incident would either help or destroy her efforts. Back at her office later that evening, Emily paced the floor, her dark hair tied back in a professional bun, her eyes filled with concern when Christina finally walked in. "What happened? I heard on the scanner." "Is Eleanor all right?" Christina sank into her chair, rubbing her temples. "She's shaken but tough as always. The guy who did it is being processed, but you know how these things go. The media is already calling." Emily crossed the room, and for a moment their professional facade dropped as she touched Christina's shoulder in a gesture that spoke of their hidden intimacy. "You can't keep burying this, Chris. Your grandmother just got attacked for being who she is, and you're still hiding us." The words stung because they were true. Christina had risen to mayor on a platform of unity and progress, but her personal life remained locked away, fearing the judgment from voters, her mother, and the old guard in city council. "I know, but timing is everything. This could be the spark we need to pass the equality bill, but if they find out about us, it becomes about me, not the issue." Emily pulled back, her expression a mix of hurt and understanding. "And what about the cost to us, to you?" The internal conflict tore at Christina as she recalled the promises they had made to each other in quiet moments away from the spotlight. Meanwhile, at the family home, Laura, Christina's mother, had arrived, furious after hearing the news. "How could Mother embarrass us like this in public?" she ranted, pacing the living room. "She's 81, for God's sake. People will talk." Christina, who had stopped by to check on them, stood firm. "Mom, this isn't about embarrassment. It's about a hate crime. We need to support her." Laura shot her a look full of unspoken accusations. "Like you support everything, Christina, or are there things you're hiding too?" The tension in the room was palpable, hinting at deeper family secrets that had been simmering for years. As the night wore on, Christina found herself alone in her car outside the house, reflecting on the choices that had led her here. The slap had not just struck Eleanor, it had awakened something in Christina, a resolve mixed with fear. Little did she know this was only the beginning of the storm that would test every relationship and belief she held dear. The weight of her decisions pressed down as she drove home, wondering if standing up for her grandmother would force her to finally confront her own truth with Emily and the town that had elected her. Christina barely slept that night, the image of her grandmother's bruised cheek burning behind her eyelids. By morning the local news had picked up the story, and her phone wouldn't stop buzzing with calls from reporters and city council members. She met Emily at a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town, their usual spot for stolen moments. Emily looked exhausted too, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup as she spoke. "Chris, this isn't just about Eleanor anymore. The whole town is talking, and if you don't take a strong stand they'll see weakness." Christina stared into her coffee, the steam rising like the pressure building inside her. "I know, but my mother is already on my case about family image. Laura has always been the one to sweep things under the rug, especially after Dad left when I was 10. She never approved of anything that didn't fit her perfect picture." Emily reached across the table, their hands brushing briefly before pulling away in case anyone was watching. "And what about us, 5 years of hiding meetings in parked cars and late-night texts? I love you, but I can't keep being your secret forever." The words hit Christina like another slap. She thought back to how they met at a policy conference, Emily, a sharp-minded counselor, who challenged every assumption Christina held about her own life. Their connection had been instant, deep, and terrifying in its honesty. But coming out as mayor in Riverton meant risking the re-election campaign, the equality bill, and the fragile peace with her family. At City Hall later that day, her chief of staff laid out the damage. "Polls are already dipping slightly," the advisor said, shuffling papers. "The conservative bloc is mobilizing. You need to issue a statement condemning the assault without making it personal." Christina nodded, but inside she wrestled with the dilemma. Condemning the assault meant supporting her grandmother publicly, but that opened the door to questions about her own life. She spent the afternoon in meetings, dodging pointed looks from older council members who whispered about family values. That evening she drove to Eleanor's house again, finding her grandmother sitting on the porch with Helen, the two women holding hands openly now. Eleanor looked smaller, somehow the weight of decades of hiding etched in her wrinkles. "I never told you this, Christina, but when I was your age I married your grandfather because it was expected. Helen was my best friend then, and we loved in secret for years after he passed." The pain in her voice made Christina's chest tighten. She sat with them, listening to stories of stolen glances and quiet sacrifices, the kind that shaped families in ways no one saw. Back home, Laura waited with crossed arms. "You're making it worse by being seen with them," she snapped. "Think of your career, the legacy." Christina felt the betrayal sting. Her own mother choosing reputation over blood. The argument escalated, voices rising until Christina stormed out, her mind spinning with the cost of every choice. Emily called later, her voice soft but firm. "I talked to some friends in the community. They're organizing a rally. You could use your platform." Christina hesitated, the moral weight crushing her. If she supported the rally, it aligned her closer to the truth but risked everything. She lay awake that night, weighing love against duty, the decisions of the women in her life echoing in her head. Eleanor, who hid for decades; Laura, who denied, and herself trapped in the middle. The days blurred into a frenzy of damage control and quiet reckonings. Christina sat in her office staring at the draft statement, her pen hovering. Emily had brought coffee and now leaned against the desk, her presence a reminder of what was at stake. "You're overthinking it, Chris. Just say the truth, that hate has no place here." Christina looked up, meeting Emily's eyes, the love there both comforting and terrifying. "But the truth includes us, and I'm not ready for that fallout." She thought of the internal battles Eleanor had shared, the nights of loneliness, the fear of losing family. It mirrored her own struggles, the late-night doubts about whether her mayoral power was worth the silence. That afternoon a call from the hospital came. Eleanor had collapsed from the stress. Christina rushed there, finding Helen at the bedside, her face lined with worry. "She's strong, but this has taken a toll," Helen whispered. Christina held her grandmother's hand, the touch grounding her. When Eleanor woke, she squeezed back. "Don't hide like I did, child. Life is too short for regrets." The words lingered as Christina left the room, only to face Laura in the hallway. "You're enabling this," Laura accused, her voice low. "If the town turns on us because of her choices, it's on you." The betrayal cut deep. Laura had always pushed Christina toward the safe path, the marriage, the image, even hinting at doubts about her single status. Christina drove to Emily's apartment that night, breaking their rule of never meeting at home. They talked for hours, Emily sharing her own family scars, the parents who stopped speaking when she came out years ago. "I chose truth and it cost me, but I found peace, Christina. You deserved that too." Their embrace was tender, a moment of happiness amid the chaos, the kind that reminded Christina why the fight mattered. But the next morning the newspaper headline hit hard: Mayor's family scandal rocks Riverton. Anonymous sources had leaked details twisting the narrative. Christina knew it was likely someone close, Laura or a rival aide. The phone calls poured in, supporters and critics alike. At a council meeting the tension peaked as a conservative member questioned her leadership. "Are your personal ties clouding your judgment, Madam Mayor?" Christina stood tall, but inside the conflict raged. Supporting Eleanor meant risking her bill, her position. She spent the evening alone replaying decisions, the price Eleanor paid, the quiet strength Helen showed, and her own growing awakening. Emily texted a simple "I love you, hold strong." The words fueled her, but the fear of losing it all gnawed deeper. Protests formed outside City Hall by midweek, signs waving against what they called moral decay. Christina watched from her window, the crowd a mix of anger and support. Emily stood beside her, now openly as advisor, but their eyes held the strain. "This is escalating, Chris. Your silence is hurting us both." Christina nodded, the dilemma clearer now. Issuing a full statement meant aligning with the cause but outing herself indirectly. She met with Eleanor and Helen that afternoon, the three women in the living room sharing stories that peeled back layers. Eleanor spoke of the 1960s when love like theirs meant isolation, the choices that cost friendships and opportunities. "You're at a crossroads, granddaughter. Choose with your heart or the world will choose for you." The words echoed as Christina returned to work, facing a surprise visit from Laura. "I leaked the story," Laura admitted, tears in her eyes. "I thought it would force you to distance yourself to save the family name." The betrayal hit like a wave, Christina reeling from the revelation. "How could you, Mom? This is my life too." The confrontation stretched long, Laura defending her actions with fears of social ruin, the same pressures that had shaped her own marriage. Christina felt the moral weight, the right to truth versus the cost to family peace. That night she and Emily argued in the car, their voices low but intense. "If you don't stand now, I can't stay hidden forever," Emily said, the pain raw. Christina drove home alone, the sacrifice clear, her relationship hanging by a thread, the career she built on the line. The town divided further, online attacks flooding her accounts. She lay awake weighing every option, the internal voices of doubt and courage clashing until dawn broke with a decision forming. The climax built at the town hall meeting, packed with residents, cameras rolling. Christina stood at the podium, her hands steady despite the storm inside. Eleanor and Helen sat in the front row, Emily nearby, her support silent but powerful. "I have stayed quiet too long," Christina began, her voice ringing out. "Hate like what happened to my grandmother has no place in Riverton. We must protect everyone." The crowd murmured as she continued outlining the bill, her personal connection laid bare without full confession. Laura watched from the back, her face a mask of conflict. After the meeting, Emily pulled her aside. "That was brave but not enough. You know what you need to do." Christina visited Eleanor later, the older woman weaker but resolute. "I've paid the price for hiding all my life. Don't repeat it." The awakening hit Christina fully, the choices of the women around her, Eleanor, who found late love, Helen, who endured, Laura, who betrayed out of fear. She confronted her mother again, the conversation raw with tears and truths long buried. "I love Emily, Mom. This is who I am." Laura sat stunned, the family dynamics shifting in that moment. Back at City Hall, Christina prepared the press conference, her mind clear on the sacrifice. The rally outside grew, but she felt ready, the cost weighed and accepted. Christina stepped to the microphones, the flashes blinding her but her resolve firm. "Today I stand not just as mayor but as a granddaughter, a daughter and a woman in love. My grandmother Eleanor was attacked for embracing Helen, the woman she loves, and I will not hide anymore." Emily stood beside her, now public, their hands linked, the moment one of happiness amid the chaos. The crowd erupted, mixed reactions, cheers and boos, but the truth was out. Eleanor and Helen watched proudly, the generational chain unbroken. Laura approached later, her voice soft. "I was wrong. The family may fracture but perhaps it heals stronger." The consequences came fast, media frenzy, political rivals calling for resignation, some supporters turning away. Christina lost allies but gained authenticity, the price paid in sleepless nights and strained ties. Emily stayed, the love deeper for the honesty. Eleanor recovered stronger, her story inspiring others. Weeks later, as the bill passed narrowly, Christina sat with them all, reflecting on the journey, the conflicts, the betrayals and the awakenings. Each woman had faced her battles, the decisions shaping lives in ways no one could predict. Did Christina make the right choice by risking everything for truth and love? Or should she have kept her secrets hidden to preserve peace and power in a world not yet ready?